Tell them leave me alone. Swimming in my drip, 2 fishes in the pond. Tell them leave me alone.
We're gonna do this one the right way. Pisces. I don't wanna know your name, cause I might just feel your pain. Might just risk my life to keep you dry when it rains.
What's going on, world? Today I want to touch on a topic about a very popular song called Got My Mind Made Up.
I got my mind made up, come on.
This song was on Tupac's All Eyes on Me album, and it features a lot of artists like Redman, Method Man, Corrupt, Daz, and it's a dope track. Now, there's been a long-standing narrative that Tupac heard Inspectah Deck's verse, Inspectah Deck from Wu-Tang, and was jealous of his verse or didn't want to be outshined and requested to have Inspectah Deck's verse taken off the track. When I hear the narrative, I'm like, wait a minute. Something just doesn't quite add up with this story. Now, for starters, the track was never a Tupac track.
That was actually for the Dog Pound. I went and picked up Redman and Meth and Inspectah Deck.
The track was a Dog Pound track, produced by producer Daz Dillinger. When Pac was released from prison and needed some music, they decided to give the track to Tupac. I find it strange that Tupac would take the track, listen to the track, and then decide, of all people, to take Inspectah Deck's verse off. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. But they're pinning it on Tupac.
He loses the files. As soon as Pac gets home, he finds it. We give it to Pac. Inspectah Deck is on the original one.
Why y'all cut him off the record?
Oh man, Tupac was on fire.
I get it. I understand.
Beat is over. Okay, just take him off.
Damn it.
Wait, but it sounds tight, Pac. I mean, I don't want to hear all that tight stuff, man. Take that off.
Well, to say that, you must be saying that everybody else that was on the track was whack. Inspectah Deck has his version of why he was taken off.
I don't know how he got the song from Daz. For some reason, he left the ad-libs. Yeah, man. I was supposed to be on that song. I heard Pac was hating. Took us all off the track. Left Meth, left Red, put himself on the track. I think he took maybe Daz or Corrupt, chop.
There's a clue right there. Somebody was in Inspectah Deck's ear. Who told him this? Because his recollection isn't even accurate. He clearly says that Pac took everybody off the song, even Corrupt and Daz, and it was just Pac, Redman, and Method Man. And we all know Daz and Corrupt, they were still on the song, so that part is not even true.
It's like, niggas is on there like really rocking this shit. And he wasn't trying to be all rappity rap. He wanted to just say some gangster shit, get it over with. That's the story I heard. Like,
the whole track was hard. Everybody went in on that track. Everybody was spitting. Even Pac stepped up his lyrical game. Not saying his lyrical game's not there, but Pac is a more to-the-point rapper. He has a point to prove, and he has something to say, and he just says it. But there are certain tracks where Pac is more lyrical. And he knew what he was dealing with on this track, so he went in and got more lyrical and was up in the ante with his flow. But I don't believe that if he was really in that much competition with the guys that he was on the track with, why would he have the shortest verse on the entire track? If he was really trying to shine or outshine the other rappers, I would think he would have wrote a longer verse. So that narrative that he took Inspectah Deck off because he was jealous or hating never really added up to me, never really made any sense to me. And then I realized, well, Corrupt has his version of why Inspectah Deck was taken off. And then Daz, the person who created the song, has his version, which I think is the actual real version, part of the real version of why Inspectah Deck was taken off the song.
making that song where I got my mind made up.
Taking off my coat, clearing my throat.
I got my mind made up, come on.
We was at my house, Corrupt came over, knocked on the door, had Method Man, Red Man, and Inspectah Deck at my house. Raiders over there, so you know what I'm saying? We dropped that song and I'm like, man, this motherfucker hard, you know what I'm saying? So I take the Dr. Dre house to transfer the ADAT to the 2-track.
Yeah.
But they forgot one of the ADATs, that's why you didn't hear Inspectah Deck lead vocal.
I set the mic in flames, my name Iron as the pebble. Murder one style, smash my snakes to pebbles.
You only heard his background vocals.
What?
But I told him leave that shit in there because that shit's dope.
Yeah.
I'm the producer and I have last say so. I'm like, you motherfucker ain't finally, well just leave that shit in there. You gonna get some publishing.
Come on
now. His voice is on there.
Exactly.
Your voice is on there, Inspectah Deck. Get your motherfucking work.
Get your
Method Man, Red Man.
Yeah.
This.
Well, when you listen to Inspectah Deck's version, he's talking about being told this, or he says he heard. Well, who did he hear it from? So you can tell Inspectah Deck's version of the story is just him repeating what he was told. Who would have told him that? Think about it. Out of all the people on the song, who would have told Inspectah Deck that version of the story? If you listen to Daz's version of what happened, he says nothing about Tupac hating on Inspectah Deck, or his verse was so hard he didn't want to be outshined, he took his verse off. I doubt any of the other members on the song said that. I mean, they would have no say so. They dropped a verse and they kept it moving. Corrupt, he has a version of the events where he openly states and hints at Pac hating on Inspectah Deck. The verse was hard. He didn't want to be on no rappity rap stuff. So he kind of more so touches on, is more in line with what Inspectah Deck was saying that he was told. So I feel like Corrupt is the one that told Inspectah Deck that version of the story on why he wasn't on the Got Your Mind Made Up track that featured on Tupac's All Eyes on Me album. What's peculiar and what my theory actually is if you actually listen to Inspectah Deck's verse and Corrupt's verse, they sound almost alike.
The paralyzed, everything is ring like door chimes. Random C shows my heart's as cold as the tundra. Tear gas, fuck a mask, we lace to place like the Marshalls. Raw with that motherfucking poisonous touch. I'm an MC with lyrics, that's the fucking Bombay.
Inspectah Deck, almost his flow and style on that particular track almost sounded like Corrupt. And I almost have a theory that this was a secret war that Corrupt actually had. I feel like Corrupt is the one that actually didn't want him on the track. Corrupt was always considered the lyrical wizard of the West Coast and the lyrical wizard of the Death Row camp. He was always considered the lyrical one. And everybody comes with their own flavor, their own style. But if you listen to that track, I don't think anybody would have compared Pac to Inspectah Deck or anybody else on that track. I think Inspectah Deck and Corrupt were kind of on that same level and that same wavelength of being viewed as like those lyrical wordsmiths. And I feel like it was a thing of like, man, Inspectah Deck is outshining Corrupt on his own shit. Keep in mind, this was a Dog Pound track, not a Tupac track. Tupac just added a verse. So how could he have been making all these decisions and, oh, he took this person off, he took that person off, he left the ad-libs in, now Tupac's an engineer? Tupac dropped a verse, and a very short verse. I don't think if he was in that much of competition, he would have dropped that short of a verse. I think Tupac liked and respected everybody that was on the track. He heard it, dope, let me get that, let me add a verse. I think while it was still a Dog Pound track, I think it got looked at as damn Corrupt. Inspectah Deck killing you on this. He kind of sounds like you on this. He killing you with your own style and lingo or whatever. And I feel like it was really Corrupt that didn't want him on the track, because he's the one that comes out with the story that it was Pac. He put it on Pac. And then when you line it up with the story that Inspectah Deck says, it's the story that Corrupt said. And Inspectah Deck is telling you that that's what he heard. So who did he hear it from? I think it might have been a secret war, Corrupt versus Inspectah Deck, unbeknownst to Inspectah Deck. I think it was really, it's just my theory, I think it was really Corrupt that didn't want him on the song. Once they found the track, because originally, Dash said the reason why he originally wasn't on it is because when they were transferring the tapes, Inspectah Deck's verse was missing, but the ad-libs were there. And you clearly hear Corrupt say, well, they found it, but he blames it on Pac. Pac didn't want it up there. I don't know. I almost feel like if you just piece it together and look at it as a whole, I almost feel like it was really Corrupt that didn't want it on there. Because the narrative just doesn't really make sense for it to be Pac not wanting the verse on there. And not only that, Pac had love for Wu-Tang. Pac wanted to work with Wu-Tang, which he did speak on in his own words.
We're not doing that until we get this business settled. And even while we doing that, we're trying to get the Wu-Tang niggas, because I love them niggas. I feel as though they represent the East Coast how we represent the West Coast. And I love them. You know what I mean?